Welcome to episode 21 of Anchored in Education. I'm E. Scott England, and Anchored in Education is the podcast dedicated to all things education. Educators across the world routinely engage in conversations surrounding fundamentals, concepts, and new ideas that improve this great profession. Sometimes we agree, other times we disagree. But at the end of the day, we are all anchored in education. I'm sure as an educator you have heard of ASCD. I would venture a guess that several of your books on your professional bookshelf sport the four letters ASCD on their spine. Founded over 75 years ago as the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development, ASCD continues to provide amazing publications, books, conferences, advocacy work, digital resources, and professional development services. On top of the national ASCD organization, almost every state has an affiliate in which educators can join to find some of the same quality assistance tailored to their state's needs. I have been a member of ASCD for quite some time, and I serve as a board member and co-chair for publications and communications for the Illinois ASCD. But it was in recent conversations with other educators that made me realize many do not know ASCD much beyond name recognition. So I've invited Ronn Nozoe, ASCD's interim executive director, onto Anchored in Education today. Ronn has been in education for over 20 years, serving as a social studies and language arts teacher, vice principal, and even superintendent of one of the largest and most diverse districts in Hawaii. He has also served as the Deputy Superintendent for the Hawaii State Department of Education and Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy and Programs for the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Elementary and Secondary Education. Ronn has served as interim CEO and Executive Director since January 2019. Ronn, welcome to Anchored in Education.
Well, thanks for having me.
So before we get started into the wonderful things ASCD is doing and what you're providing to teachers, we'd like to find out a little bit more about you and how you became anchored in education.
Sure. Both my parents were public educators. My mom, an elementary teacher, second grade teacher for 35 years. And my dad was, a teacher, counselor, and then later on coach, and then later become an administrator, and then was principal, and then ended up in the central office. So, and also another 35 years.
Wow.
So, I grew up with them around the dinner table, talking about all the stuff that they were going through. And I swore I'd never, they worked very hard. I used to, go with my mom on the summers, and, she put me in that room, and I'd go, back in the day, mimeograph stuff.
Yeah.
Decorator classroom. And I'd go with my dad when I was a little older, if we had to go to the school for stuff or go to events or go to the, sporting events. And I saw how many, just tireless, nonstop work. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I was going to be an attorney. I was going to go to law school and go be an attorney and, quote unquote, be rich and strike it rich and everything. And while I was in school, I ended up, some folks that I knew were struggling with their writing, and I gave them a couple tips, and I helped them with, looked at their drafts and everything, and they did well. And then my friend who I had helped was like, "Can I bring my girlfriend?" And then she did well, and then we're like, "Can I bring my friends?" And next thing you know, I was like, ended up helping all these fellow students, and I really liked it. So, then I went back and I told my parents, "Hey, you know what? Guess what? Remember I told you I'd never do this? I'm gonna go do it." So
were they supportive of that?
Oh yeah, they were supportive of it. It was just a surprise to them because I had basically told them, "Nah, I don't want to do what you do." But
yeah.
So then I went into teaching, and that was it. I loved teaching. That was the best job ever. Never. I had great. I started in high school and then moved to middle school because in the same feeder pattern, because the kids were coming up to high school. And the first assignment I had was what in Hawaii was we used to call them the R's, the repeaters. So, I had the 9 R's, the 9 RR's, and the 9 RRR's, which are, basically seniors that failed English 3 times. So I started teaching them, and I'm like, you know what, I got them to where they needed to be, but it was like, if I started earlier, I might have a better shot at it. So I moved down to the middle school, and I loved that. Had a great time doing it. Never wanted to leave the classroom. Never wanted to do anything else. Got my arm twisted by my principal, who I really loved, and was an amazing principal and a role model to me. And she tricked me into going into admin on a temporary basis, and then the rest is history.
Right, and that history includes vice principal, principal, and even superintendent of one of the largest and most diverse districts in Hawaii. So,
Right.
and then you've moved on. You've also worked for the U.S. Department of Education, and of course now you're
Yep.
at ASCD. So, what have been some of the biggest changes that you have seen? And then, do you foresee, what are some of the most significant issues that educators will be facing in the next 10 years?
I would say the biggest change, which is it speaks to actually both parts of the question that you're asking. The biggest change was, I thought teaching was hard when I was a teacher. I thought kids had it rough when I was a teacher. I thought families had it tough when I was a teacher. And, I'm positive that it was back in the day.
Uh-huh.
But what kids and families face today is, oh my God, is just incredibly difficult. The amount of stress and distress, if you will, the kids and families in trauma,
Oh,
the
sure.
kind of all the the complexity of the world, the rapidity of change through technology and the internet, the social media. uh, you know Back in the day, it was like, when I was teaching, there's drugs, and there was gangs, and graffiti and tagging and fighting and violence. But you know some of these other things weren't even invented yet.
Right.
And man,
And it's
that change is the pressure that puts on educators and the educational system can be really stifling and unhealthy. And so I think, for the next decade or so, as we really look at education in America and think about, well, how do we want to re-engineer or engineer things so that we can start to build the kind of capacity internally and through our systems that we need in order to ensure that all kids really get what they deserve, from education, which is to truly have a shot at a successful future. That to me, the challenge of that is, as hard as it was back in the day for me and the colleagues that I work with. I'm sure that this is harder than that.
absolutely.
This is
It's
yeah.
not getting easier, but
No,
it
no.
is still, and I don't know that you would disagree with this. It's still rewarding, and maybe even more so than it was, because we are bringing, it seems like, students through more than what they've had to face in the past.
You know what, Scott? That's a great point. Yeah, it's like anything else, right? The greater the risk, the greater reward. And,
Yeah.
the educators today who are doing these amazing things with kids, to your point, not only do I hope that they feel that satisfaction, but also, they really deserve the kind of credit and recognition for that, because, as it's never easy, but
Right.
this stuff is really challenging.
It is, and like you said, of the what you faced as a teacher, the gangs, the drugs, the fighting. Our students nowadays, it's not like that has gone away. That is still a problem that educators and that students are still facing. And now on top of that, we've thrown
Yep.
in those, like you had mentioned, the trauma, the adverse childhood experiences, the social emotional learning that we have to have our teachers have. So I mean, it's not, we didn't trade one for the other. It's just compounding, and
Yeah.
you're it's definitely, you're right. It is a lot more difficult from even whenever I started and whenever you've started. So, but thankfully, helping us out through all of these new things coming out, we have the ASCD. and they are. I mean, I'm going to let you talk about ASCD, but they are a resource for educators across the world, and so I believe just last year, ASCD recently celebrated its 75th anniversary,
Yes,
and
you're correct.
so well, I guess I'd like to start with. Letting you kind of tell us what the mission and vision of ASCD is and how that has continued to evolve with the rapid advancements in education and really kind of what we just talked about.
Sure. And so, this past year, our board and our executive team, along with input from our staff here, really decided to really dig into our strategic mission and vision and what that should be as we celebrate our 75th anniversary and then think about what the next 76 years would look like. And so, we focused in on who we are and who we serve, and I think to the point that you were making earlier about the dedication that educators have and put out for kids every day. We for us it always comes back to supporting educators to support the whole child.
Uh-huh.
And so we realigned our vision and mission around those. And for ASCD, it's really not new work per se because this is what we've been about for 75 years. But I think codifying that in the vision and the mission have really helped us to think much more strategically about how we can better support educators to support the whole child. And I think, we look at it as an evolution, but we also believe that mission's timeless for us. Like this is something that, no matter where we are in whatever stage of educational evolution, we're always going to need to support educators who support kids because, we expect a lot of educators, and frankly, there have not been a whole lot of quality supports for educators. And I think it's really, from a practitioner's perspective, it's very hard to swallow. Wait a minute, you're expecting the adults to give everything that they have for kids, but why are we not giving everything we have for adults? And so we've tried to, people will tell you that they've heard me talk about, hey, we got to practice what we preach here. Because if it's good for kids, it's good for adults. And if we want adults to be able to deliver that for kids, then we should probably give them that experience as well. So that's the way we've tried to approach our mission of supporting educators to support the whole child. And, I just personally, ASCD helped me when I was learning to be a teacher, and then when I was learning to be, especially in the transition points, when I was learning to be a teacher, when I was learning to be an administrator, when I was learning to be a principal, and then a district superintendent and a state deputy, I was taught by folks long ago, that people that I really respected, master educators, that educational professional always stays on top of the literature.
Yes.
And you need to know your pedagogy, and you need to know the foundations of education so you understand where you came from so you can help kids get to where they're going. And so ASCD was people, back then people were like, look, if you need to join a professional organization, it's ASCD. So, for me to come back, 25 years later and be able to give back to the organization that helped me get through the most difficult times in my career, especially during the transition between roles, it's absolutely professional, but for me, it's also personal because this give back component is, it's quintessential or the integral part of how educators are built. Is like you always want to give back, and so this is a really special opportunity for us to think about the next 76 years and how we continue to maintain this high standard of excellence and quality and the reputation of trustworthiness and value that ASCD has, and at the same time evolve the organization to start engaging and reaching educators in ways that we had not done before, which I think is, for me, that's fun. Like I just look forward to that challenge every single day.
So one of the things that I frequently ask people, are you a member of ASCD? And I love it when I hear the yes as an answer. And if it's a no, I ask why, and sometimes the answer is, oh, well, you have to pay to be a member, which always gets me
Yep.
because if you want to join any organization, you're going to have to pay to be a
Yeah.
member. But I always like to point out that unlike other memberships, ASCD is what I would refer to as easy on the pocketbook. And
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at professional organizations out there, and then you see how much it costs, at the most basic level to join ASCD, it is more
Yep.
than affordable for an educator. So, can you explain the multiple tiers of membership and the associated benefits?
Sure. We have three main tiers of education of membership, excuse me. And the entry level tier is no, we're changing the names of these and the way we're structuring. We're going through a membership overhaul, but for the sake of it, back in the day, basic meant something different than it means now.
Yes.
So we need to change our terminology. But there's a basic membership which we have two options. It's $59 for the print version or $49 for an online only version. And with that, you get obviously the subscription to our flagship educational leadership magazine, which most people know more than ASCD,
Uh-huh.
but it is our flagship magazine. You get our Ed Update newsletter, access to our members only webinars, access to our ASCD online library, member prices on products and conferences, member books, and members only discounts. So, that either $59 for the print version, which you get everything in print, or $49 for the online version is, to your point, and thank you for saying that, Scott, is very kind. We're really focused on we know that educators, if education paid $1 million a person, that'd be great, which,
Right.
I think educators deserve it. But that's not the way it is. And, with the way we all pay out of our pockets to subsidize what kids need in the class, we were like, let's make this, let's keep the price low. So our price has not changed in our membership for many, many years because but that's the entry level. The next tier is what we call the select membership tier. And that one's a little bit more expensive, but not a lot. It's like $30 more, $89 for the print version or $79 for the online. And you get all of that basic membership, but you get each year 5 additional member books. So our editorial team will pick the 5 hottest books that are coming out in our we publish about 50 books a year. So
Okay.
50 new titles a year and a whole bunch of, we continue to reprint and sell our existing titles. But so our editorial team curates the 5 that we think are going to be the top of the top for that year. Something that either something that's really new that people need to read or something that we're really excited about. And we'll put out those 5, you'll get those 5 member books with the select membership. So, I mean, you can't buy 5 books of anything for $89.
No.
Try go to Barnes and Noble and buy 5 books for $89. That's, so again, we're trying to be very conscious of our audience and try to make things, manageable and, doable for folks. And then the premium membership, which actually has a huge following with us. Premium membership is quite a bit more, but it's the top tier. $239 for print or $169 for online only.
Okay.
And this one, we call it informally in-house, we call it the All Access Pass. You get everything that I've all talked about all the way before. You get access to 1 professional development online course, 1 professional development institute voucher, so you can go to one of our institutes, and then you get 9 more member books. So,
Oh, wow.
that's a total of 14 books. And folks, we all know that educators don't have time, but there are folks out there that gobble these books up and they go crazy over them. And, we're just deeply humbled by that because that means people are really, really taking their craft seriously. And, despite the huge range in price, $49 for the online version of our basic membership, all the way up to $239 for the full-blown print version of everything.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we have a substantial amount of premium members, and And I think that just speaks to the nature of educators, that, educators just are perfectionists. They just want to be the best they can, and they want to be on top of their game, and they want to know the most. So that's kind of our three tiers of memberships, and how the benefits go with them.
And I think that I know one of the premium books this year was Personalized Professional Learning with Allison Rodman. She was on the
Mm-hmm.
podcast back in June, and
Mm-hmm.
just a phenomenal book. And I know that was one that I talked to Allison and got kind of a sneak peek, and was reading that on vacation, and was texting my administrators, and they're like, "Aren't you on vacation?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I am reading just an amazing book that's going to blow our personalized learning out of the water." And I mean, I was sending them quotes, and I mean, that's the type of books that are coming out. It's more than just the feel good books, which we need the feel good books, but these are
Yep.
a lot of times they're anchored in research and best practice on how you can improve, like you said, your craft. So, Ron, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but ASCD is not a teacher only organization.
Right.
We talk a lot about teachers when we talk professional development. We think teachers, but really, what you're doing out there is you're really striving to support educators at all levels. So,
Right.
I guess can you speak to how the diverse backgrounds strengthen the organization?
Sure. And so our membership is diverse, just like education is diverse, in the world. Um, it includes, we talk about it informally that we're the only nonprofit member organization in education that that serves educators from pre-service all the way through retirement. So we have members, we have principals and superintendents and new teachers and experienced teachers. We've got school board members, higher ed faculty. We've got student members who are pre-service that are, just entering the profession. And we've got district staff and consultants as our membership. So we have a very diverse membership, and I think that is, for me, one of our strengths. Is because when we look at education at ASCD, we don't see things in a vacuum. We see them through the lens and through the eyes of the different roles and the different stakeholder groups in education. So, as a teacher, I'm an expert with my students.
Sure.
But I might not really know what makes my principal tick, or what's going on with my principal. I don't. I'm a teacher. I'm busy. I got work to do. And ASCD allows a teacher to understand, to access material, and to learn more about what a principal's perspective might be, so the teacher can better understand how to talk to that principal about, like, hey, we've got me and my colleagues here have some great ideas, and we're doing some good work. You should probably help us. Exercise some of that distributed leadership stuff that you've been reading about and learning about, and give us a little bit of a runway here to go and try some new ideas, because I think we're gonna show you that it was a good investment. And in the same fashion, principals can look across the spectrum to understand teaching, but they can also look the other way and understand what a superintendent is going through. And then as people make transitions from positions to positions, or roles to roles, we support them in that way too. So that's one of the features of our diverse membership. Another one is, because we are an international organization, we have members from literally all over the world. 129 countries and members from 129 countries, and we have 71 affiliates across the world. Most of them in the U.S., but quite a few, worldwide. And so, we have members that work in rural districts and urban districts and big urban districts and small urban districts and super, rural and remote, isolated, and then, of course, when we get into the international component, from all different cultures and all different contexts, we have, members in the Middle East, we have members in the Far East, we have members in Europe. I mean, so it's really, I don't know. I think of it like a gathering place where educators get together and we can exchange ideas in a way, because I think that's what's missing in the world, is like where people can really talk about things and truly try to understand each other's perspectives. And ultimately, we like that diversity because it reflects the reality of education. We
Absolutely.
want our membership to look like the classrooms that we serve, and that means recruiting new members with diverse backgrounds and perspectives, and it's something that we are very passionate about. On the other hand, that means that the products and the opportunities that we deliver have to be valuable and relevant and in tune. And again, I spoke of this earlier, but has to be at the level of quality and credibility that people have come to expect from ASCD. And finally, I'll say, we talk about, our conference Empower is the conference for every educator. And we not struggle, we spent a lot of time contemplating what the purpose of the conference would be. Because, some people would say, well, can't you just, for focus purposes, can't you just make it a principals conference, or can't you just make it an administrators conference? And we wanted to create a conference experience that is for every educator. So no matter where you are on the educational spectrum, you will find engaging and informative and insightful and inspiring pathways to engage in, because that's how we program it. So I probably talked a little bit more about.
No, I think it's great, but it does make me think of something as you're talking about educators at all level, and as we talk about education just kind of in general. At least here in Illinois, we have a teacher shortage, and we hear about this
Yep.
nationwide. And so, is ASCD working on any like concepts or products or services to help address this teacher shortage? Because I guess a teacher shortage ultimately could impact your membership.
Absolutely. So it's funny that you bring it up, because as we're going through, I didn't talk about this, but we're going in line with the work that I was telling you about, the strategy and the vision, and we're going through this, a realignment or an alignment of all our resources and our effort around rallying around our mission. So it's really interesting because our membership team, which we've newly formed, we did some reorganization, and we've got a membership team that's just these folks are fired up, and they said, you know what, this teacher shortage is troubling all of us, and so we're going to put together a landing page, and so we just put it out. It's about all the things that you can do to support new teachers to stop this, 30 to 50% of new teachers leaving the classroom in their first 3 years. And so it covers, it's all free. It covers all the things that we have about supporting those newest to the profession. And it goes all the way from entry-level orientation to the school experience, all the way through mentoring and induction.
Oh, wow.
And this is an example of the breadth of the resources that we have because of our, the authors and the thought leaders and the content and the practitioners as members that we have. And so the team, what they did, and I went over to them and I said, what I take away from this is coherence. I said, the world of K-12 educators is so incoherent today. Everybody's expecting them to do this, do that, try this, try that. You got problem here, stressor there. And I said, educators just want some coherence. Just show me something that makes sense. And so when our team put all these things together and created this, new teachers landing page, I was overjoyed because it was exactly what, one-stop shop. Go there, you can get all kinds of reasons. Now, it's not the end-all be-all. There's, obviously all the work means, all the thought in the world is not as helpful as actually doing the work. But it is, it's just full of resources that can be easily disseminated or easily shared with anybody who either is a new teacher or a teacher that is supporting or mentoring new teachers. So that's the kind of work that we're really excited about, because leveraging this impressive membership and worldwide reach that we have is something that we take very seriously, and we have to do it with a level of integrity that reflects the awesome effort of educators everywhere. And we feel very strongly we're not putting out anything that's junk, or not even anything that's half baked, because educators deserve the absolute best.
Yeah, and educators can read through half baked.
Oh, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, you talk about that landing page, and then you talk about, I mean, in the a lot of the publications that have come out, you mentioned some: Educational Leadership, Education Update, the ASCD
Hmm.
Express, of course, all the books. A lot of that has addressed supporting the new teachers, or the common challenges new teachers face. And you've got some of the biggest names in education writing for ASCD. Um,
Yeah.
I guess, what is it about all of these publications from ASCD that makes it meaningful? And then also, how does ASCD define the topical directions for its publications each year?
Okay. So, this starts with our awesome acquisitions and editorial staff. Our publications team is amazing, and they do this incredible amount of, one. They get lots of input from folks, at all kinds of levels in the educational spectrum. So they don't only, for example, they don't only listen to principals, or only listen to teachers or superintendents, or they don't only listen to folks in the same region. So they have a series of input groups. They're also, students of the game. So they're always looking to see where, what's meaningful in terms of what people are talking about, presenting about, whatever their people are writing about. And so, there's that level of awesomeness. The second level is the way that our editors work with authors. I think is really special. It's more like a co-development kind of relationship, where authors want it. We help them in more of a thought partner kind of, with an editorial bent, of course. And then, of course, some authors, don't want it, and they submit amazing text too. But
Sure.
there's this. It's almost like, if you think about it, it's differentiated. It's like differentiated instruction. And they're like real facilitated kind of learning. So, it's not sage on the stage; it's guide on the side. It's a real differentiated approach. So, if you want more help, they give you more help. If you don't want that much help, they'll back off and let you do your thing. But this process, this content curation process that our publications and editorial staff does, is really it's really something to behold. It's a lot of work, and as a result, what comes out is a style and voice that is unique to ASCD, that really is a nice balance of research and practice, theory and hands-on, of high-level thought leadership, and then grassroots practical application. And that's hard to do. Education is so complicated. It's hard to actually explain those ideas,
Right.
on paper, or through illustrations or graphics. But our team just seems to be able to do that very well. And but as I said, it's a lot of work. We've got folks in that shop that a very high level. I mean, these folks, I'm afraid, like, they're so good. I'm afraid to submit anything to them in writing, because I think that's going to come back all hacked up. Like, these folks are really, really, really expert. And so, I think that's what helps to shape our content in the way that it comes out.
Yeah, and the quality of the books. I mean, and it's fun to see, because you're talking about the authors having different styles, and you can tell, depending on which ASCD book you pick up, that you're reading a different style. It's not a cookie cutter method as far as putting out content. I mean, you can tell that's the author's voice talking, and I got that through, when I read Allison's book this past spring, and then also coming up in August, towards the end of August, I have Tony Frontier coming on, and he's a ASCD author.
Oh yeah, Tony's amazing.
He is amazing,
Yeah.
And I mean, you can tell that Tony's style is completely different than Allison's style, but at the
Yeah.
same time, both books are easy to navigate, and they're not stuffy, is the, I guess, non-technical term I'll use. But you don't get caught up in all of the research. They seem to weave it in to stories or to into vignettes or something that allows you to sit back and think, okay, I in my setting or my district, my school, I can see how this will apply, which is why I can be on vacation and be reading a little bit and get excited about what I can do because I can envision it. And that's how I see most of the ASCD books set up.
First of all, thank you for those. Scott, those are very kind comments, and I'll be shared. When I share that with our publications and editorial team, they're going to be overjoyed because that's exactly what they strive to do. They're trying to help the author and thought leader really showcase their gift to education, and it has to be done in that way. It's a remarkable process, and this is a little bit of a bird walk, but when I came here, I'm familiar with ASCD publications throughout my career, but when I came here, I spent a lot of time learning with the book production unit, and every aspect of book production is art here. So, the writing is an art, the cover design is an art, the layout internally is an art.
Yeah.
So, it is really something to behold because as a person, you go to the bookstore and you buy a book. If you didn't know, you don't realize how much work goes into it, and that's these folks put that kind of love into each and every publication, which I think people might not know it, but I'm sure that they respect and appreciate the quality.
Oh, I definitely think they do,
Yeah.
and I think everything that goes into ASCD is quality, and so that kind of leads me to events. You mentioned Empower a little bit ago, but you can find ASCD events all over the country.
Yeah.
From Chicago, which is I believe where Empower was this year.
Yep.
And it's moving out to
We had a great time. We had a great time in your state. By the
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that conference moves to LA next year, I believe.
That's correct.
And but also you can find events in Orlando and National Harbor, Maryland has another one.
Yep.
I mean, they're all over. So can we shed a little bit of light on some of these events and why districts should be sending their educators?
Well, for us, our events are an opportunity to bring together all of the ASCD family, educators, practicing educators from all over the country and all over the world, thought leaders, and authors, folks that are not in education but have valuable insight to help us think differently about some of the things that we're doing in education. So, we set these things up, we design them and program them to be an opportunity to have these hands-on experiences on the topics that really matter in the education system today. So, for us, it's never about a fad. It's like what's on people's minds. And right now, social emotional learning, poverty, bullying, burnout, time management. Those are the topics that we hear when we reach out to our membership and our stakeholder groups. This is what educators tell us that is on their mind. And so we try to be proactive and at the same time responsive and in designing these events. And, anybody who comes to an event knows that there's, in addition to all that wonderful content and programming, there's this incredible ability to meet other educators who have gone through or are going through the same experiences. And, we feel very strongly about this peer-to-peer component. When I came up through education, it wasn't about peer-to-peer. It was like, somebody would write the 10 commandments and tell us what to do and we go follow it, which is great. It was good for that time, but today's world is a lot flatter. So, the value of peer-to-peer and getting to hear other people's stories and understanding that, we're not alone, no matter how far apart geographically we're not alone. We're actually all going through the same things. And I think that networking part gives an opportunity to let off some of that pressure that people feel all by themselves and realize that, you know what, this is something that we're all struggling with, and we can solve the problem together. And so we set our conferences up to include that the dedicated time for that sort of networking and interaction. And at the same time, we know that and this is where, when I came to ASCD, I spent a lot of time educating our staff here. Like, do you know how hard a decision it is for a school or district to spend money on adults when we all know that we need to do more for kids? And so we take that commitment by, when people sign up and they register for an event and they come to our event, we take that commitment real serious, because we know it was not an easy decision and they had a lot of choices. And so we want people to come to our events and feel like, you've heard me say it 100 times already. I mean, at least 5 times on this call, but I say it all the time, is like, welcome to the family. When you come to an ASCD event, you're family. We mean that and family is family, right? There's good and bad with family. And
Sure.
so, we really feel that level of obligation and respect to deliver an experience for our conference attendees that makes it worth their time. It helps them grow as educators, and they leave the conference fired up and wind in their sails and inspired, and all the things that we all had when we signed up for teaching, which is like, you can change the world and you can do all that stuff. The systems out there, they kind of wear down that shine a little bit, and we kind of want to boost it back up. So that's what we engineer our conferences for, and that's what we ask about on the feedback afterward. How was the conference? Would you recommend it to a colleague? How has it helped you? What are you going to do with the information you learned? Because we're really interested we're not interested in continuing to do things that people are not satisfied with, and we're really interested in making sure that we're meeting the needs of the educators who sacrificed a lot to be able to come to an event.
And ASCD, always looking out for everybody, has a professional learning aspect right there on the website. Can you go into more detail about the various professional learning opportunities offered?
Sure. So, we have all kinds of learning opportunities, and they range from digital, online, asynchronous, professional learning experiences that you can, sign up and, you could get a certificate of completion that, obviously people can use if their district or school allows it for CEU. We have that kind of, online virtual experience. We have a little softer touch. We have webinars that we offer both for non-members and, of course, the exclusive webinars for members, which we get a lot of traffic on, and then they're downloadable as well, so people can listen to them, watch them and listen to them on their own time. And those are always our featured folks. We also have professional learning services that are nothing comes out of a can, nothing is prepackaged. All of our custom professional learning services are basically job embedded professional learning opportunities, but those are all custom. So based on, we'll meet with the school or district, they'll talk with us about what they're trying to accomplish. We'll ask them a series of deep dive questions to try to sort of drill down to the root cause of what they're trying to solve, and then we'll go back and our team will put together a bunch of options for folks, and then they can be directly with our authors. They can be in concert with a team approach between our team and the either district or school team. They can be from some of our faculty members. We have a highly trained and highly awesome faculty, all of whom were educators with track records of excellence. And some of them work in what we call cadres, which are they focus specifically with some of our most popular author topics, And so the authors themselves work with their cadres and build their capacity. So they really are a very high level. And then those folks will go out and do trainings if they're requested. So we have like a whole range of learning opportunities that we offer, and it's really based on need. What do you as an educator or your school or your district want and need? And we're real clear. If we don't or can't provide what you need, we will tell you that, because I do not believe in us, faking it to make it and trying to go sell people stuff that, we're not. Hey, if people come to ask us for stuff and we know there's another firm or a group out there that's way better at it than us, we will regularly tell them, no, you should go to them because they're the expert on that topic. Because I believe that we have to have this truth in lending, because the resources are so tight in public education. People can't afford to be giving us money for something that they really don't need.
Sure.
I'm a real pain in the butt when it comes to that, about making sure that we're not. No, I'm dead serious that we're not. Our reputation means more to us than anything else, and we're not going to jeopardize it.
Before we go, I'd probably be in trouble if I didn't mention ASCD affiliates, because I am a member of the Illinois ASCD and a board member, and I actually serve on the co-chair for publications and communications. So I see what affiliates can do in states, and almost every state, not quite all, but almost every state has an ASCD affiliate. So
Yep.
How does ASCD and its affiliates collaborate to bring more opportunities to educators?
First of all, thanks for talking about affiliates, and I agree with you. Yeah, we'd be both remiss if we didn't talk about the awesomeness of our affiliates. And I want to just say, since we're talking about this, I could not emphasize more. Best way I can say it is that our affiliates are so important to our vision of being able to, one, be the most trusted and valued resource for every educator, but also being able to support the educators who support the whole child, because the affiliates have the local presence. They know the local issues. They have the local context. They have the local relationships and the connections. And as you know, first of all, no two states are alike. And then also within the states, each of the states have different communities, and they all are very different. And so, for us all the way over here at headquarters in Virginia to assume that, for example, we understand what's going on in Southern California, is silly. Well, it's much easier for me to call Kathy McCreary, our executive director on our California affiliate, and say, hey, Kathy, what's going on down in Southern Cal? And she can say, oh, yeah, these are the issues, and this is what's going on. So our affiliates are just an amazing asset to ASCD. And, along with that, the affiliates provide that level of local flavor of leadership and mentorship and professional growth. And that's, I think, where the affiliates are the strongest. Illinois is a perfect example of this. The work that you're doing in Illinois, I just look at what you guys, if I'm not mistaken, it's today, the social emotional learning event.
Yeah, it's wrapping up today up north. It was yesterday and today.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, there's a lot of information about social emotional learning, but how is that personalized and customized to the needs that you all in Illinois are doing? They're different from obviously you step far enough back that the needs are the same, but if you differentiate and you go down and you disaggregate what those needs are, in a neighboring state, the needs could be very different. And I think that the affiliates are the best possible way for us to make sure that we are focusing on the whole child, but also honoring and building on the strengths of the local context. For me, I look at affiliates as the grassroots approach. As I said before, we have 71 affiliates across the United States, Canada, Central and South America, the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia. And depending on the way the affiliate is structured, sometimes all of the affiliate members are our members and vice versa, or sometimes they're not. And I think that allows just a level of flexibility that I think is necessary and appropriate, you know.
Sure.
And of course, the good thing is you can be members of both, which we encourage. But I always talk to folks about when they ask us about ASCD, and I said people come up to me at a conference or one of our events, and they're like, "Hey, I want to join ASCD," and I said, "Well, you should also look into you have a state affiliate, and you should join your state affiliate because your state is where you're going to advocate for your local policies and local initiatives, and it's great that we love you to be a national member and also a state member."
Well, it is clear that education is changing, and ASCD has been and will continue to be right there with it, staying just maybe slightly ahead of the changes, so we are prepared as educators. Ron, thank you so much for joining us on Anchored in Education today.
Scott, thank you very much. I'm just so thankful that you're doing this work, and I wish you all the success. And if your listeners, ever want any help, we're here to help. But I would say if they're listening from Illinois, then call your Illinois affiliate first.
Absolutely. We have a website, and I will have a link to ASCD's website on my personal website, escottengland.com, and also I'll have I'll probably put a link to Illinois because I'm a little biased with that, but there's also there's an affiliate page, and I will directly link to that too, so our listeners can click right to it, and they can find their affiliate, and they can join and get started furthering the great things they're doing.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It's been an honor to be a part of this, and I wish you all the luck and success going forward. And if I can ever be of help to you in the future, please just let me know.
Now, you can find Ron on Twitter. His handle is @Ronn Nozoe, and that's RONNNOZOE. I'm putting a link to him on my website, escottengland.com, so you can follow him today. When you're at my website, you can also learn more about Ron as well as find a link to ASCD so you can become a member. Before I close out today's episode, I want to again encourage you to subscribe to Anchored in Education so you can be notified every time a new episode is available. You can do that by searching Anchored in Education in the iTunes and Google Play stores as well as on Spotify. Now, as an educator, we owe it to ourselves to seek out ways to further develop professionally, but it goes way beyond that. Being involved with state and national organizations opens you up to many personal opportunities as well. You can meet educators from across the nation, even the world, that experience similar struggles and triumphs as you. You can build a bond and a network that will enhance your professional skills as well as create a personal network you can lean on at different points in your career. Who knows? Quite possibly the reason you should join ASCD is because you are the person someone else is looking for to lean on. Because at the end of the day, we are all anchored in education.